So I used AI to make a game about Charlie getting revenge on the useless waste of oxygen case officer who rejected the Moist esports applications. And yes, the case officer is just Dwight from The Office because I wanted to use someone that feels like they need a prick to their face and a pine cone shoved up their hole. The idea is you throw moisture come at the case officer, and the case officer throws rejections at you. It's one hit kill, so you have to dodge the attacks, and if you lose, you get this Charlie quote.
Well, rub my nipples with sandpaper and beat my wiener with nitroglycerin. Somehow that bitch got me.
And this screen with the case officer laughing at you. When you throw the moisture at the case officer, his moisture level increases until it reaches a critical moisture level, where you must use the finishing move special attack, which is the giant dildo shooting larger moisture. But now the rejections are bigger and come faster at this point, so you also have a force field made from the moisture to help defend. And the case officer's moisture level decreases as he dries, so you must be quick and shoot your load before it gets lower than the critical moisture level. You can pause the game at any time, and the pause screen shows different insults from Charlie to the case officer. For example, you're a failed abortion of a hillbilly's incest gangbang rape. Or, your personality is stiffer than a 14-year-old's cardboard-crusted jizz sock. Or, I'm going to garlic press your testicles and drag your eyeballs across a rusted cheese grater, you useless, pathetic mole man excuse of a person. When you win, Charlie does his famous woo animation celebrating, then the end screen is shown with the case officer covered in the moisture. I made this game using the new fancy pants ChatGPT 4o. It is so much better at coding than it used to be with ChatGPT 3.5. Half the time that was great, and the other time you wanted to throw a brick through your computer screen. It was still awesome for what it was, you just had to learn how to tame it, as it had many issues. So like a toddler, it required lots of hand holding and nappy changing, fixing the code yourself to make it work. This new 4o is smooth sailing. Text goes in, code pops out, thousands of lines of code, multiple files, easily remembers if I change the variables in the prompt and updates things accordingly. Any issues or further developments you need, you just describe to it what you want and it outputs it. Not always perfectly, but still pretty good, and can normally, with a few bits of back and forth, you can get it to work exactly like you want it to. I only had to go in and fix 2 bits of code twice. GPT 3.5 was like having an interactive Stack Overflow. You still had to know what you were doing and do a lot of it yourself. 4o is like having a full-blown developer that works at 100 times the speed right there in front of you. Not always perfect, but pretty damn impressive. This is basically the full game without any graphics that I got after an hour or so of prompting with ChatGPT. Making the artwork, on the other hand, is not so easy. This project was really like 2 hours of code, 20 hours of making the artwork, and 2 weeks of procrastinating. You know, far past the point where the joke of this whole thing was probably worth the damn effort. I did try to get artwork from ChatGPT itself. There was some potential there, but poor little DALL-E 3 is not quite ready to play with the big boys yet. So I used Stable Diffusion with Comfy UI. My last video I made here was all about how I use Stable Diffusion to make a comic about this horrifying date story I have. You can go and check that out on my channel. So this was a similar process, so I can kind of just copy my homework from the last video. Basically, pose the models, then use Comfy UI to do image to image and control net to get the characters in the right pose. Do that for all the poses and then use them to build a sprite sheet. Now, you do have to do a lot of Photoshop and fix most of the images, as they often have visual issues, and to make them more consistent. It's not perfect. It takes way more effort than you would think. Many hours of trial and error to get decent results, and it does become pretty tedious, not so fun. Especially because my brain is fried from 5 years of constantly watching TikToks. Procrastination sets in for anything that requires more than 5 minutes of actual effort from me. Yes, a lot of effort, but still super impressive that we can make all this artwork with AI. Though Do note that it took me a couple of months to learn Comfy UI to a good enough level to be useful for my last video. Someone starting from scratch would take far longer to make the art. So unlike the coding, which is now super easy, that genuinely feels like a real game changer there. Making the art, you should just be lazy and pay somebody on Fiverr.